Hello. Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to today's expert lecture. This event is proudly held by the Information Technology Study Program, Faculty of Science and Technology, Sarimulia University. First of all, my name is Amanda Putra Madeni. I'm honored to be your Master of Ceremony today. Let me begin by giving our welcome and high appreciation to Dr. Hajah Roro Dwi Sogi Sri Rejeki, Bachelor of Dental Surgery, Master of Education, Rector of Sarimulya University. Dr. Dede Mahdia, Master of Science, Certified International Research Reviewer, Vice Rector for Academic and Human Research. Mr. Mambang, Master of Computer Science, Dean of the Faculty of Science and Technology. Mr. Muhammad Zulfadillah, Master of Computer Science, Head of the Information Technology Study Program. All respected regulars and staff, our dear students from the Information Technology and Information Systems Study Programs, and of course, our special guest, Dr. Inženýr Anna Wróblewska, Professor at the Warsaw University of Technology, Poland. We are very happy to welcome you all to this academic event. To start, let's sing together the National Anthem of Indonesia and the Sarimulya University hymn. Thank you. Next, we invite Dr. Dede Mahdia, Master of Science, Certified International Research Reviewer, Vice Rector for Academic and Human Research, to give the opening speech. To Mrs. Dede Mahdia, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremony. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable guest Dr. Anna Wróblewska from Polandia, distinguished participant, lecturer, and student, good day and warm greeting from Universitas Sarimulya. With silent gratitude to Almighty God, we are pleased to welcome you all to this guest lecture session entitled Human-Computer Interaction, Evaluating and Comparing LMS for Education and Beyond. This event is organized by the Information Technology Studi Program, Faculty of Science and Technology, Universitas Sarimulya. We are especially honored to have with us today a distinguished expert from Poland, Dr. Anna Wróblewska, whose academic and professional insight will enrich our understanding of the intersection between human-computer interaction and the latest advancement in large language models. This topic is highly relevant in today's digital era, where AI tools like ChatGPT and other information technology are transforming how we learn, work, and interaction with technology. As educators and students, it is essential for us to critically explore this innovation and how they can be adapted for educational development and beyond. On behalf of Universitas Sarimulya, I'd like to express our deepest appreciation to Dr. Anna for joining us and to all committee members for organizing this meaningful session. May this lecture inspire collaboration and knowledge sharing across nation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mrs. Dede. Now we invite Professor Anna Wróblewska to say a few words before we start the lecture. Professor, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for invitation. Yeah, I'm truly honored to be here with you online, but still we are together. Yeah, and I'm really honored. When I saw yesterday that it's even your anthem before my lecture, I'm so proud, and all my family knows about this. That I'm so honored. Yeah, I'm really grateful. And thank you so much. Thank you, professors. Thank you, all the staff of your university, and also the student that you wanted to attend the lecture. I would like to introduce you with this topic of LLMs and evaluation and comparing of them, because it's very active field of study. Yeah, and also it only inspiration because the research is still ongoing. Yeah, and you even can contribute to this topic. Yeah, so yeah, I would be happy to listen your thoughts, to inspire you, and yeah, and thank you so much, and especially to my dear student, former student, Sabrina, or I cannot say properly your name, but Sabrina was my MSc student, and she was very diligent and hardworking, and I'm very happy to be invited, yeah, and to help and do whatever wants Sabrina. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor. Before we continue, we invite all guests and participants to take a group photo. For online participants, please turn on your camera. Okay, let me greet you, everyone. Look at the camera. Smile. 1, 2, 3, say cheese. Okay, thank you for joining. Now we are ready to begin the main lecture session. This session will be led by Ms. Trifebi Sena Sabrila, Bachelor of Computer Science, Master of Science in Engineering. She will guide us through the presentation and discussion. Ms. Baby, the time is yours.
Thank you, Manda. Good morning, Professor, and good afternoon for everyone here. Once again, I'm Trifebi Sena Sabrila, and I have the honor of serving as the moderator for today's short lecture. The topic of today's lecture is evaluating and comparing large language models for education and beyond, where we will learn how large language models are being assessed in both educational environments and broader practical contexts, and why meaningful evaluation is critical for responsible AI use. And today, we are privileged to learn from Dr. Engineer Anna Wróblewska, a professor at the Warsaw University of Technology, Poland. And as what she mentioned before, she is also my supervisor during my master's study back then at WT. And even up until now, I think I'm still learning a lot from her. And I would like to sincerely thank her for being here today as our guest speaker. Bardzo dziękuję, Professor, for your willingness to share your time and knowledge despite your busy schedules also, because we have time difference, like 6-hour difference now, right? It is truly an honor for all of us. Okay, before we begin, allow me to briefly introduce our speaker. So, Professor Anna Wróblewska is an assistant professor at the Faculty of Mathematics and Information Science, Warsaw University of Technology. She is one of the founders of the new specialization, data science specialization, where she conducts courses such as natural language processing and introduction for machine learning. She has led many academic and industry research projects, working with master and PhD students, scientists, and industry partners. She has several years of experience designing intelligent systems for data analysis and modeling, and leading R&D teams acquired in cooperation with scientific and commercial environments from companies like Cognitum, Asseco Poland, Allegro, the biggest e-commerce portal in Eastern Europe, Applica, Sunrise, WISUP, and Poznan University of Technology. Her research interests include artificial intelligence and machine learning in practical applications, especially semantic understanding of data, text and image, semantic data modeling, recommendations, and deep multimodal learning. She has authored more than 50 publications in international journals and conference proceedings, mostly providing AI solutions for R&D's industry use cases. And if you're interested in exploring more of Professor Wróblewska's research, you can find her publication on her Google Scholar profile. For the link, it is shown on the slide, or you can also access the QR code there. Okay, so without further ado, let's begin the session. Professor Wróblewska, the screen is yours.
Thank you so much for this big introduction. I will try to share my slides. I hope everything will be seamless. Yeah, and slideshow. Now, can you see my slides?
Yes, you can see your slide.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I think this topic is very interesting, of course, for me, but also I hope I would introduce you, so you will be so eager to explore more and to know more and to influence more on this. Oh, I need to switch. Oh, okay. And could you see the? Can you see this bottom screen? Yeah, or because I can see.
We can see your screen, but it's not yet on like Zoom. I mean, how to say?
Ah,
Like it's not full
okay.
screen.
Ah, I don't know how to do this. Is it okay? You can. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So generally, I would like to say something about our university. It's quite old in Poland. Yeah. So it's one of the biggest, the oldest universities in Poland. We have a nice, also historical buildings. Yeah. And yeah, we have 18 departments, a lot of students here. And here is the main building on the screen. Yeah, our faculty was before there in the main building. Yeah, and I'm a student of this faculty, so I just was a student when we were here, but now we have a very new modern building. Yeah, and this Sabrina was the student here. Yeah, at this glass building. And we have many fields here. At first, we had only mathematics and computer science, but then it was split into artificial intelligence, bioinformatics, also this computer-aided design and medical processing. Now this data science, and also we have another field, mathematics and data analysis, which is close to data science, but even more mathematical backgrounds here. So I think it's quite a lots of range of modern science. I hope. Yeah, I would like to introduce this. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Professor, but I think your slide is not
Ah,
on the second or
okay. So maybe once again, I can share my full screen, and now maybe this will be. And now, oh,
okay, it's working.
yeah, this is this glass building. Okay. Yeah, and
You're
now
on the
this different.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay, and this is my short. Sabrina just introduced me, but yeah, I'm working at this faculty. Previously, I did my PhD in another faculty, more on electronics. I work with medical images, with mammography, but then I skipped to more data modeling and this NLP. Also, I try once more, and now currently I'm involved in this international grant, overcoming multi-level information overload, and all of I say is very inspired by this team, because this is grant for international exchange, and I cooperate with many scientists from different universities, from Tokyo, from Singapore, Israel, and so on. Yeah, so we just have internship there, and we talk a lot with these scientists. And another my side little grant work is on chatbots for teaching and learning. Yeah, so because we want to prepare something meaningful for students to make just to make learning easier, and also for students, for teachers to prepare materials and have some help from these big large language models. Yeah, of course, it's very maybe not very, but quite difficult. It's very easy to use these tools, but have meaningful results, yeah, reliable results. We need to be very cautious. We need to check everything and experiment. So yeah, it's still a very, very active field, and we all need to be aware how to use, what are the drawbacks of this, and so on. Okay, and this is made by LLM, or maybe this multilingual generative AI. I introduced my publications and asked to prepare any graph of my keywords, and yeah, it's not very nice, but still it can show how I skipped from medical imaging when I did my PhD, and then to data ontology modeling, NLP, and also joining this with the images and with other data. And now I am more involved in education, yeah, so using all of that stuff to improve education. Okay, okay, and I would like to share our last papers. These are links for these papers, and this talk also will be inspired by these papers, yeah, because I feel it's a very dynamic field, and it's very important to be aware about how these LLMs can help us, but also that we are under the influence of them. Yeah, and we need to be aware. Yeah, and maybe it's a bit scary that we are under influence, but it's true. Yeah, that we are influenced by these models, and our imagination, creativity is also influenced. Yeah, so we need to be aware, we need to check everything, and yeah, and also in this paper one of the main author is our PhD student, I think. Maybe yeah, Sabrina knows her, yeah, Sophia, who is also Indonesian, yeah, am I right?
She so even from South Kalimantan, my hometown.
Yeah, great, yeah. And she worked a lot. She is now finalizing her PhD, and she works with fake news detection. Yeah, but we can see that after this introducing LLMs, the field is even more active and more complicated. Yeah, because we have fake news made by people, but at most made by LLMs, yeah, or other generative models. And on one hand, they can help us to detect other fake news or disinformation, maybe not fully fake, but yeah, you know, this clickbait, this misinformation, and all of the shades of this fake knowledge. Yeah, you know, it's now we cannot even say that it's fake. Yeah, but it's sometimes a bit misleading. These hallucinations. Yeah, these are all kinds of gray, all shades of gray with this information. Yeah, not totally fake or not fake, but all these shades are quite hard to detect and just to make the information straight. Yeah, so we are also under the influence. Yeah, so these generative models can prepare deep fakes and so on. Yeah, so it's two kind of influence. Yeah, one is good. Yeah, they can help us, but one is very bad. Yeah, so I think this title is very up to date, that we are under the influence. Yeah, and a bit scary also, at least for me. Yeah. But still, it's true. Yeah, we are here, and we can try to contribute to to have influence on these big models. Yeah, not that they can influence us. We can make them help us and have influence on them. And I'm trying just to do this, yeah, and inspire other people to cope with that. Don't afraid, but work and change this scope. And also, I would like to say something about our paper on evaluating this model. So we generated tests with this large language model with GPT-4o, I think, one of this kind. And but also I prepared tests for the students, but at the same time I asked them to evaluate this test, yeah, because I believe we need to change the way of looking of learning, yeah, because now we need to be very critical about what we just have from the LLMs, yeah. Then before this LLM age, we had knowledge, and we also, so any source of knowledge, most of them were very reliable. Yeah, we could have trust them. But now, when we have something generated but by LLMs, we need to have something like be aware. It can be a bit hallucinated, a bit misleading, not very, straight and reliable. And I'm even very proud of this paper because we sent this as a short paper, but this conference asked us to just make it longer and described it in, Sabrina, do you want to tell me something? No? Okay. It's okay. Okay. Yeah, so these are the links. This is preprint here. And of course you can look into and then write to me. But I would skip into some so this is why I think these topics are very, very important for everyone. Yeah, not only for teachers, not only for technical students, but for everyone to be aware. Okay. And now our lecture here. So I would like to introduce shortly the concepts of machine learning and NLP, yeah, and then a basic schema of architecture of LLMs, and then I would like to talk with you about evaluation. Of course, if you want to ask something or just I don't know, break me. I'm happy to, yeah. Sometimes I'm too fast and I just speak very quickly, but every time you can just say that you want to ask something. And then we can also talk. And in the light of this, once again, I can emphasize that ethical considerations and AI literacy is very urgent thing, very urgent need for everyone, not only for technical people. Everyone needs to understand at least a little bit, and everyone needs to be very critical and to very cautious about how we use these tools, yeah, and what conclusions we get, what knowledge they can support us very, very much, yeah, that can help us in many things, but we cannot trust them, just like they will do our homework, our other things, and we just without any thinking, any critical view, we can incorporate this. It's not this way, yeah. And I would like we not to be this from this little picture, not be people who are influenced and manipulated by LLMs, yeah, and generative AI, but I would like we to manipulate this AI or just, just to change, just influence AI. And I think it's the proper way of thinking and proper way of cooperating with the AI. Yeah. And do you have any questions for now or? Yeah. For now, no. Yeah.
Do you guys have any questions for now? Okay. I think we can continue first.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I would at first I would like to say something about machine learning. Of course, it is very general. Yeah, if you wanted then to deepen the knowledge, I also try to incorporate some links on my slides, so you can go there, or even you can write to me, or yeah, and of course there are a lot of materials on the net. Yeah, so generally, if we would like to use machine learning, we at first need to define the task for these tools, for these models. Yeah, so what is the task? Usually we say about this, but we are not directly aware what is it. So to train any machine learning model, yeah, we need a data set. Yeah, data set and also the goal, yeah, what we want from, so we can classify documents or any other observations. We can extract some information, we can find similar documents or observations. Yeah, it's not only about text processing, yeah, also images and so on. But we need to define this tightly and very precisely. Yeah. Also, often when we used supervised machine learning, we need to have labels for the data set. Yeah. So it's so-called gold standard. Yeah. So the labels are just like the goal. Yeah. So we train the models to achieve the goal, to explore, to predict the labels for the new. At first, we train models on our data set, training data set, but then we train them to use them on similar data, but new data, yeah, which wasn't seen before by the model. And of course, to measure this task, if it's good or if it's good enough, yeah, we need some metrics, yeah. And usually we, at the beginning, we define some metrics. Some tasks are very standard, like classification, yeah, so we have defined metrics, but we can also define our own data set and goal and define our our own metrics relevant to the data set and to the task. Of course, it's much more difficult here. It's much more advanced, but still we can combine different data and measure. But usually at the beginning, when you just learn machine learning, you try classification tasks. When you, oh, sorry, I have this. When you have different data, you have labels, yes, of this gold standard for what the data should look like, what they should be. Just for example, relevant documents to any task or not relevant, or any, for example, documents that are on politics, on medical knowledge, or any other class. Yes, so we can classify these things, and you have the goal. The goal is this labels for classification, and then metrics like, for example, accuracy, precision, and so on. But we want to tell more about metrics because we will shift to NLP. And also NLP is another step in machine. It is, of course, machine learning as well. Yeah, but in NLP, we have this raw data, raw text, and human labels, but the labels can be like classes for the whole document, but also some excerpts, some part of speech, or just named entities, or it depends on what we want to get from the model, what how we want the model to help us. Yeah, maybe it should extract some information from the whole text, or maybe it should classify documents. Yeah, so it in classification we would have the class for the whole, for example, that it's about politics. Yeah, But of course, it can also extract and name entities. Yeah, the Japan is a country, something is a person, and so on. Yeah, and if you want to see more other data sets, you can go to Kaggle. It's a nice platform to learn machine learning because there are a lot of different data sets and also some source code to try. Yeah, and the data sets are described very well. So yeah, it's you can go there and explore more about machine learning and NLP. Yeah, and usually, and now, yeah, we need to this feasible goal, and this is much more difficult in NLP because at first we need to have human annotations. Yeah, many people, so-called annotators, need to go through the whole corpora and annotate what we want. Yeah, annotate phrases, annotate documents, and so on. And here I provided you the link to NLP Progress. Now it's not so active page because after LLM introduction, everything we try to do everything with the LLMs and check LLMs. But before LLMs, we had different tasks defined, like sentiment analysis, named entity recognition, so this human names, for example, recognition, and document classification, and so on. There are about 20 different tasks and data sets, of course, defined for NLP. But now it's changing, yeah. And also, also I would like to add, because in LLMs it's very important when we have raw data, so raw text in NLP case, we can have, of course, human-made data, yeah, with human labels, and it's called organic data set. Yeah, so just like made by human, but now we can also have many generated text or semi-generated. Yeah, so they called semi-generated or synthetic data and so on. Yeah, but now everyone who builds LLMs, every company wants organic data set because we know this OpenAI just explored the whole internet. They know they trained their models with the data, and so if you can introduce only generated data, so there will be no more creativity in these models. Yeah, they need human knowledge, human labels, and these human-made data sets and text written by humans. It's very, very precious, very like a diamond for these companies and also for us, yeah, because we also use at least partially semi-generated text, yeah, but still they somehow lead us in the same direction, yeah. So we have some help, but still we have everyone uses the same tool, yeah, and it's some also some discussions about creativity as a humankind, yeah, as a society, because we all use the same tools, yeah, and it can be very narrowed in the future. And also there are a lot of papers about these issues. Okay, so this is for NLP that was a little bit previously done when we had the goal and we classify and extract something. But now, okay, so maybe I'm sorry, I will continue this because I would like to introduce you with some basic or some kinds of tools used in NLP, which are still important. Yeah, so how we can model NLP? Yeah, so a text. we need to prepare representation, usually numeric or sometimes symbolic, but still any kind of artificial numeric representation. It's called embeddings. Yeah, so we often discuss about embeddings that they are inputted into model. So of course we had this embedding, so it was sometimes very old kind of representation back of words, for example, that was a representation based on dictionary. When we just tick in one text, we tick words that were in that exist in this text, yeah, and that's why we can have some kind of numeric representation. And then it was evolving toward to vec, to graph, fast text, and so on. BERT transformers, yeah, also use this embedding representation. Of course, this representation is much more contextual and much more efficient than this back of words. Yeah, it's like historical chain. Yeah, but still we use these embeddings. Sometimes we use the models, and the embeddings are just a part of these models, like FLAIR, also ELMO, BERT, transformers, GPT, and so on. Yeah, so now we just input text, but in the model we have the embedding layers, and then we have this numeric representation. Of course, there are many research on also how to explain the models, this because they are very big, complicated, and we cannot, know directly why they work this way as they work. Yeah, we cannot see, it's so-called black box, that we cannot see inside how they work. So there are some works to explain why this kind of text is classified this way by the model. Yeah, just like looking from another side on the model. But this research is hard, especially NLP. Yeah, because when we have numeric data, it's much easier. But in NLP, we have many kinds of layers in this text. Yeah, we have part of speech knowledge, we have this parsing trees and grammar, and every language is different, so it's quite hard, but still there are some works. I will not tell more about this, but you can find and work, and it's really interesting. Yeah, but it's particularly hard. We also don't know how these GPT and larger language models work. Yeah, we just put text into them and have something, and and we don't know exactly why this is this answer. Yeah, sometimes we trust, sometimes not, but still we don't know. Yeah, okay. So now we will go into this LLM architecture. It will be very general. Yeah, of course, there are some more details. Yeah, but I think we don't have much time for it. Generally, also transformers have the same architecture. Yes, so we have encoder. So this part is responsible for this embedding. Yeah, so preparing this numeric representation. We have also attention block, which was very, very new thing in transformers. Yeah, they invented attention, which just and transformers got a very good result for almost every task. Yeah, and these GPT and LLMs now, and sometimes also transformers like BERT were are included in this term LLMs. But I mean here more like this GPT models, BART, T5, and so on. Yeah, transformers is like a pre-age for them. Yeah, but also they have the same architecture, at least the main blocks. Yeah, they differ in details, but still it's the main blocks. So we have an encoder who encodes signals, so our text, for example, here, yeah, for these language models. And we have attention, which just shows which words are the most important. Yeah, it's something like, you know, a loop. We can, when we read a sentence, we know that some of these words are keywords and some relates to other words. Yeah, and then this is somehow weights for words in our document. Yeah, and then we have decoder. Yeah, so decoder is responsible for providing an output, and output is the text, the generated text. Yeah, so from this numerical, it's sometimes called also latent representation. Yeah, because it is inside the model. Yeah, so it decodes this representation and just generate text. Yeah, so it, of course, it depends on the inputted text. Yeah, because encoder just encode to numeric values. And also we have attention in encoder and decoder, which helps to weigh the words and just to put the more emphasis on the more important words. Yeah, so it's a very, very general architecture. Of course, some models don't have the encoder, some don't have attention, yeah, and different kinds of attention. And there are sometimes different kinds of training, yeah, so also reinforcement training when we use human in the loop, yeah, so we train based on any data sets of text, very big data sets, but also we can have some instant feedback from people, yeah, and then we can rearrange the weights. Yeah, so there are different flavors of algorithm and methodologies for LLMs, but in general, these basic building blocks are the same. Yeah. Okay, and here is the summary. Yeah, so encoder gets the inputted text and prepares this representation, a numeric representation, which is called embeddings, or sometimes latent representation, which is just like inside of the model. Yeah, attention mechanism just helps in it, weighting importance of word, depending on context. Yeah, so of course it depends on the whole text, but also weights relations, and the coder generates output. Yeah, so okay. We can check the result, yeah, word by word. And usually the way they are trained is just to predict the next token in a sequence. Yeah, so we have input text and it predicts the next token, and we check if we have data set. So we know what is the next token. Yeah, and this way we can train the models. Yeah, and then when we train them, we can just use them to predict another text which is different from training data set. And nowadays we use mostly pre-trained LLMs because it's a very, very time consuming, and also you need to have very extended these GPT cards and so on. Yeah, so you have to need very big infrastructure to train this LLM, but many companies, yeah, and we have Hugging Face repository when there are a lot of different open pre-trained foundation models. Yeah, so it's called foundation models because they are trained on normal text, yeah, and then you can fine tune it, train to your specific text and to your specific domain. Yeah, for example, we have models for general English. Then we can train these models for medical English. Yeah, and this or just we can train for another language. Yeah, like Polish, Indonesian, yeah, and so on. But there are many, and usually when you start any task with LLM and you can would like to build a new LLM, so you should at first explore the open models and just fine tune them. And also you can fine tune in the same way, yeah, that you have corpus and you have it's so-called semi-supervised training, because you know the next token, but you don't need human labels, additional labels, yeah, when you just train these foundation models. Yeah, of course, then you can also train to extract some specific information. Yeah, so this is more like I showed previously, like defining the task. Okay. Yeah, and now we can skip, I think, to the, yeah, so there are some differences in these LLMs architectures. Yeah, so GPT has only decoder. So there are different kinds, flavors of these models. I won't go into details, but, you know, some have encoder decoder, some have decoder or even a couple of decoders and so on. Yeah, but for now, I think it's enough, yeah, so to know the general schema for these LLMs, yeah. And now we would like to evaluate, yeah, because it's also the title of my lecture. I need to talk something about the title. Okay, so why we want to evaluate? I think I said something about this. I think you also know and at least feel that we need somehow evaluate this. If it's useful, it is completely unuseful for us. Yeah. So of course we would like to be responsible, and we would like to have influence on technology. Yeah. Sometimes we evaluate to know, you know, how long we need to train a model just to be good enough. Yeah, because you know the training is very time consuming, and also this computer power is big and costly. Yeah, so you know we sometimes need only good enough model, maybe not 100%, but 80% is good enough for some tasks. Yeah. And of course, we would like to adopt these models into education and for society for different tasks, yeah, because they can generate answers, can discuss with us. Of course, it's, you know, artificial discussion, but still they can improve our work, polish our essays and so on. It's a lot of possibilities, but we would like to know that they output very reliable knowledge, not the LLMs. They doesn't hallucinate. Yeah, it's called this way. Yeah, that they are hallucinated. Yeah, so this not only totally fake, they introduce and prepare generated text, which is not totally fake, yeah, but sometimes it's a little bit fake, a little bit misleading, a little bit manipulating, yeah, so, you know, these are very different kinds of flows in LLMs. And yeah, especially in education, yeah, I think it's very, very important to have reliable outputs. Yeah, because when people just learn, they can learn badly, yeah, and it can mislead them, yeah. So even they are sometimes just not aware of this, yeah. And you know, I think it's the biggest threat that people can use these tools and they are not aware they might be not aware that it can be false, yeah, or just a little bit false, but still. So I think it's very, very important in education and also for this social good for society in medical settings. It's very, very important for them to be tested, evaluated, yeah, and for us to be sure that they won't mislead us. Yeah, and yeah, so we have, I will start from these frameworks, yeah, with automatic metrics. Yeah, so before LLMs, we call this natural language generation task. Yeah, so we had a lot different transformers which just generate text even for translation in another language or in the same language, and then usually we tested the models with this gold standard. So we had the output text, which is the best one, or this we can call this reference text. So we had the data set with the input text and output text, which is the reference, the gold standard, the best text that could be the output of the model. And we train these models this way, yeah, giving the input fed it into the models, and of course we compared the output with this reference text, and these are different metrics that were used. I won't go into details, but in general, the first metrics, these two are based on the just exactly comparing the text, yeah, even words. If you use if the model used another word synonym, it was even bad because they should use the same word, and it was of course bad, quite bad evaluation, yeah. So then people just invent bird score when we just make from the result text we prepared embeddings, yeah, so encoding this using another transformer, and then also the reference was embedded, and then it was compared through the numeric representation. It's a bit better, but still very not very good, yeah. So and of course, we don't have the reference text when we check LLMs now, yeah, because we can discuss with them, but we can only imagine the reference, yeah, what the answer should be, yeah, but yeah, so now we have totally different paradigm of this metrics. We need reference free, so we need to measure the output somehow without the reference text, without the output we want it to have. Yeah, and now there are, of course, this field of study is very active now. A lot of researchers work in it, and it's there are a lot of flaws in these schemas. Yeah, so one way of measuring the output of one LLM is using another one just as a judge. Yeah, so another LLM can say if it's good or not. Yeah, and even can provide some feedback how it should be changed. Yeah. And another kind of measuring is just checking textual quality, yeah, and I will go into more details what is the quality, but of course it's also also it's very hard topic, yeah, because we need to prepare any measures of how good is the text, how good is the answer. And here on arXiv, I provided the link, yeah, because at the beginning of this year, these authors prepared the survey on measuring these LLMs, yeah, and they describe this reference, this with metrics with the reference text and without reference, yeah. Yeah, and I would skip into this especially into this textual quality, yeah, because this is LLM as a judge is just is a very simple paradigm. Of course, it's have many flaws. Yeah, also there are some critical papers about this. Yeah, because generally LLMs just measures better generated text, not human-made. Yeah, and it's the main flaw of this method. Yeah, that they say that something generated is better. So it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to make it good. Yeah, but this textual quality is more extended. Yeah, and we have different dimensions of this evaluation. Yeah, so also, of course, when we use LLM as a judge, we can ask other model, we can prepare a prompt to measure this kind of dimensions. Yeah, we can also use them for in this method of LLM as a judge, but also we can use it with people, yeah, or any automatic metrics, yeah, but it's quite difficult. For example, we have many metrics for readability of the text, yeah, or I can believe its lack of redundancy is also quite doable automatically, yeah. But coherence, relevance, yeah, diversity, these are more difficult. For example, we tried to measure creativity of text in one paper. I also can provide a link, yeah, and it's extremely hard to prepare a metric of text which measures creativity. We have this Bloom's taxonomy, which is for education, yeah, so we can somehow assess, and we need also build another model, yeah, to assess if the text is more about evaluation or more about analysis and so on, yeah, but it's somehow related to creativity, but it's very difficult to prepare straightforward measure. It's usually people can say what is creative and not creative, yeah, but for it's even for people it's very hard to say how creative is the text. Yeah, it's it's very broad and undefined concept, but still we can try. Yeah, but of course if you ask models they will be sure and assess this, but we don't know if it's good. If the answer is good. Yeah, so these are different dimensions. Yeah, and of course, it's they are more, and people prepare, researchers prepare more and more dimensions, try to cope with the automatic measures and so on. Yeah, so more details are in this survey. I've provided the link. Yeah, and also there are some kinds of rubrics. So in education, especially I think in lower education levels, teachers needs to prepare rubrics for evaluation of students, but we can also prepare this for models, yeah, and we can have, so this is works from Professor Laura Diaz, who is just working in this field very, very extensively. And this is more about her work on last year. She presented at SIG-IR conference. Is one of the best conferences of information retrieval and text analysis. And she earned the best paper award for this kind of summary of the evaluation. So I think it's very nice to know something about this. So generally, she showed, or she prepared the manual, also prompts, but also answers for just like a question test bank for any LLM model. Yeah. So when we have any model, it was more on a retrieval thing. So for more for search engines when with the LLMs. So it's in the schema when we just search things throughout, for example, internet, and then we have LLM who can which can transform this and generate their own output. Yeah, but based on document, it's also the schema is called retrieval augmented generation. Yeah, so it's the RAG, which is used for also using LLMs. Yeah, it's much more reliable because the answer is based on retrieved documents. But still, there are some hallucinations. It's not that this framework is the best, yeah, but how can we evaluate? Yeah, so we provide a query, which is the query from the test bank in this case, yeah, and we have this retrieve. We know the responses that we should know, and we have generated responses, yeah, and we can check if the answer is answered or no, or we can even grade it, yeah, and finally it's like rubrics, yeah, so the summary, maybe weighted summary, is the evaluation score of the model, and this way we can compare. It's quite the schema is quite complicated, but um, I would like to introduce you that we can have any test bank and then check maybe different. Also, these questions here, Q1, Q2, can be these dimensions. Yes, so can be creativity, readability, and so on. Yeah, and if only we can measure this dimension with any number, yeah, or maybe it can be done by people, yeah, but of course it's very time consuming, yeah, when made by people. So then we can somehow evaluate and compare different models. Yeah, of course, the concept is also evolving. Yeah, it's not that it's, closed concept. You can also incorporate your own ideas. And here, I'm not sure if you can see this. Here at the top, at the bottom, I've provided the link to this work of Professor Dietz. I think it should be pronounced this way. And she also provides the source code and much more publications about evaluation of LLMs. And even lately, she sent a preprint on a critical evaluation on this framework LLM as a judge, yeah, saying that these models are very have preferences for LLMs, which is of their kind. So, for example, GPT answers the best, yeah. But and of course, we need to use another family for models, yeah. But still, they prefer generated text, yeah. But there are a lot of different flaws of and a lot of these methods, and a lot of different dimensions. We need to be very careful about measuring the output. Of course, our just know our knowledge and our sometimes our sense, our feeling is just even the best, yeah, but we need to somehow have numbers and measures like in the science, yeah, to compare and so on. Okay, yeah, so maybe, yeah, and here you have some examples of benchmarks, yeah, so some benchmarks for LLMs. Yeah, these are mostly, of course, the field is evolving. I think that can be much more even now. Yeah, so there are different kinds of banks so text corpora that you can check with these benchmarks. And I think the most interesting for you that you can play with it. This is chatbot arena. Maybe some of you even knows, and we can go there. I hope. Can you see this my screen with this arena or just slides? I cannot hear.
Sorry, can you repeat?
Can you see the screen with the LM arena?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, yes, so you can ask anything, yeah? So maybe we can ask about, do you know Sari Mulia, yeah? Am I right? Okay, we can see, okay, we can agree. And then we will see the answer of two models and we can assess them. Yeah, which is better? Oh, I'm not sure if they know this. You know, we also, one of our students, I work also with Professor Paprzycki, and he works at, I think, some management school, yeah, and they try to test some Arabic specific information, yeah, and some models didn't even know about this, yeah, so you know, you can also play with this, yeah. This model is much. Oh, okay. So you know, one model is much better. I think, yeah. Okay, so you know, only you can assess this, but I think it's better because the first one even, you know, doesn't know anything about you. So you need to train them. Yeah. Okay, right is better. Yeah. Or yeah, and now you can also, you know, you can ask many other questions, and then you can assess. And finally, based on this per assessment on many people's, yeah, you have a leaderboard, yeah, and you have, you know, which is the best. Yeah. So now Gemini is the best in this because many people can log in there and ask the question and then assess which is better. And you know, based on that, the ranking is done. Yeah. So we can also, I think you even should ask these models and say that if they don't know your university, they are very bad. Yeah, so you need to influence this leaderboard. Okay, yeah, so you can play with that, and also you can, you know, train these. These are also vision transformers and text to image. This yeah, so you can play not only with text. I think it's a very nice test just to also be familiar with the which answer. And when you just chat with these models, at first you have two models, but you don't know them, yeah? And when you finish, you then know which models you choose as the better one. So I think it's very useful to play with this tool and, you know, just to know more about this, how they work and how they answer. Yeah, some models truly don't know about any regional, for example, food, yeah, or just, you know, specific language. Of course, they are good in English, yeah, but also we have some, even now we have some Arabic models, yeah. I think we can also have Indonesian models, yeah, because this our PhD student Sophia tested this English-based models and Indonesian, and for Indonesian language, it's much better to use Indonesian models. Yeah, they understand better. Yeah, this. Yeah, so you can play with these benchmarks and of course look for more. And yeah, I have some time here. So now I would like to show you maybe shortly, but still about our work on this for this evaluating for education now, yeah? Because I believe in education, we also need to make students aware of, it's called so AI literacy, to be aware of what we can get from AI, generative AI, LLMs, yeah, and all of that stuff. So I prepared this test, yeah, it's the example of one question. So it was a test question, yeah, and I asked students to assess it in many dimensions, yeah, and maybe now I should change this, but yeah, it was my first try, yeah, so first I tried to ask them to measure if it's a good question or not good, yeah, if it's reasonable or maybe too easy, complicated, or and most of these, because the questions were fully generated, yeah, I tried to, revise them a bit just to throw away very two stupid questions, but still they are fully generated. And also sometimes they were quite ambiguous, yes, so because it's quite hard, prepare question and then good answers, which one is very, the best, yeah, and the rest is that it's not so easy, to differentiate, but still you are able to choose the best answer. Yeah, it's as we see in tests. Yeah, we have a couple of answers. We need to choose the best one. Yeah, but sometimes when it's ambiguous or where it's hard. Yeah. So they assess these questions on these different dimensions, and also they was able to provide better questions or comment it. And finally, we had the results. Yeah, and maybe I can show you more if I have time, because it's a preprint. You can also read it. Yeah, it's how we prepared this, and that we at first prepare questions, and then experts evaluated the questions, and then students. Yeah, they answered the question, but at the same time evaluated. It's I think totally different schema. Yeah? Usually we just do test and we believe it's it's good test. Yeah, but now when we have generated things, we need to, at the same time learning, evaluate if it's good or not. If it's yeah, so it's how we prepared. And now I would extend this, and I had another try when I tried to ask also about if these possible answers are different and not ambiguous. Yeah, but you can ask everything. Yeah, but our conclusion was we used this item response theory. It's a mathematical theory to grade test or in two dimensions. Yeah, we have different answers. So we have students' results, but also we assume that questions may have different difficulty. Yeah, so some are very easy, some can be more hard. I think it's very useful. Yeah, even maybe for just assessing LLMs. Yeah, but no one so far used this for assessing models. Yeah, but just coming so we just did through our course. It was NLP course. And then we, based on this theory and methodology, we just have scores for exam questions. Yeah. And then scores, so these are scores, these are different parameters of this method. Yeah. And so we have scores like difficulty of a question and the discrimination of the question. Yeah, so if the question can make a difference between better student and worse students. Yeah, so it's just like two parameters. Yeah, one is assessing the student and one is assessing the exam questions. Yeah, and Generally the test was quite easy, yeah, because most students got good grades, at least good, yeah, or very good. But what was interesting, we somehow tried to correlate this measuring difficulty and discrimination of questions, yeah, these automatic questions, with, of course, average exam score and assessment of students, yeah, this star assessment. And we can see that it's, somehow correlated, maybe not much, but also you can see that this thick reasonable question is very correlated with the average assessment. Yeah, it's quite, quite obvious, but still it's, that it's some reasonable results. Yeah, also ambiguous answer and assessment was correlated in, with minus, with the average assessment, with the stars. So, and these are the questions and the average assessment, yeah, of students and the difficulty of the questions. Yeah, so we can see that more difficult questions had lower grades mostly, yeah. Yeah, but it's just details can be, yeah, we will present them on a conference at the end of July, so it's not officially published yet. Yeah, but also for me it was a very nice sign that they accepted this, and also we had this honor to extend the paper, because I believe it's a very, and also we have reviews that it's a good way of evaluating in education this model, that we need to make also students know and be aware on the flows on the of the questions, of the generated, not only questions, yeah, but at all generated text, yeah. So student needs to assess at the same time as they learn, they need to think critically about these outputs and can somehow evaluate, yeah, if they are useful, if they are truthful. So I think it's a very important direction to make people and different kind of students, not only technology students, yeah, to make this AI literacy, to have these skills. It's very, very important, yeah. So of course we will have time for questions, yeah, but as a summary, I think that the most important takeaways is that we need meaningful measurements on, of course, of LLMs, but also of these machine learning tasks in general, yeah, because sometimes not only metrics are important, but also this training and inference time. Yeah, so inference in when we use the models, when we try to predict, generate new text, for example. Yeah, so sometimes it's very time consuming, and we need much computer power. Yeah, so often in industrial use, LLMs are out of scope. Yeah, they predict for so long time. It's truly unfeasible. Yeah, so they are still working, and also they use. Some people say that to have the answer of generated AI, it's the consumption of energy, just like preparing and cleaning a bottle of water. Yeah, so it's a huge energy consumption, and we need also to be aware of this. Yeah, that they need huge energy, and yeah, it's how it refers to this sustainable development. Yeah, and that we lost so many power just to test LLMs. Yeah, so you you need it. It's not good to a good thing. Yeah, and also when we use AI, not only LLMs, yeah, but also these visual models and so on, still we need to experiment and test and evaluate on the fly, yeah. So we all of us can use these things, but we need to be critical and we need to train ourselves how to do it on the fly, yeah, just by doing, yeah. And of course, my biggest concern is how it would be our creativity, yeah, how it would change, yeah, because we all use the same things, yeah, we all are under the influence of the models, yeah, we would like to influence them, but still we are also under the influence, yeah, so we need to be aware and we need to really be critical, but still it's a big power in our hands, yeah, so we should use them, yeah, for the good, yeah, for and try to use it reliably and yeah, and be aware of all of that things. And I think it's a bit, and my last slide, because I found it a couple of days ago, yeah, it was Harvard Business Review. Yeah, they checked how people are using generative AI, so also LLMs, yeah, uh, this year, yeah. So in previous year, it's it's slightly changes, yeah. So at first people use these models for technical assistance, yeah, content creation, but this year the first way the most popular are in personal and professional support, yeah, and maybe it's good, but on the other hand, I can say I have a short chat with at my home time, yeah, so it's quite a little town at east of Poland, yeah, so it's Siedlce. I think you don't know it, yeah, but it's a very little time, and I have a chat with the therapist there yesterday, yeah, and I said that it is changing, yeah, that now people are using more for personal support, yeah, they can discuss about different things and so on. And he said, but some people just came to me with a full diagnostic, yeah, and they have a list what they should do just to, for their personal support to feel better, yeah, they have diagnosis, I have depression, yeah, and what should I do? And it's dangerous, yeah, when people use this way, and trust as a as a as they should trust professionals, not just these tools, yeah, of course somehow they can support, yeah, and they always agree with us, yeah, they are very kind for us, so it's they are not kind, they just predict words, but still we should be very aware that they are not professionals, yeah, still we need other people, not these artificial bots. Yeah, so this is my last thought, but of course I would be happy to answer any questions and listen to your comments.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor, for your insightful and inspiring presentation. We truly appreciate your time and expertise, and it is such a pleasure to have you with us and to learn from your experience. Okay, so now, since we still have time, now we will open the floor for a question answer session. So if anyone have a question, please feel free to raise your hand and introduce yourself and you can deliver your questions. Okay, so maybe for the first session, I will probably limit it into two questions first. So anyone wants to ask a question? Okay. Okay, you can.
I'm a master's student in Teknologi, and I just want to say thank you very much for this good opportunity for me, because I'm so interested with this material about evaluating and contemporary knowledge. And I just want to say for Professor Anna Wróblewska for submitting paper research on IAE about evaluating and generate Q&A task with legal and in IAE 2025 is this conference and I just want curious about LLM models, because I'm still learning and still interested and finding resources about this model. The main question is there potential of bias on your data and your model? And as a kid in your model, if there, how you can fix this and address your bias on your model? And the second question is, when you after I read your paper, you using API point and API point about to build of the model, to find it again to scan it from, and for me it doesn't. The question, how your understanding?
Thank you. Sabrina, could you repeat, please? Because I think that it's something about bias in data, yeah? And could you repeat the question for me?
Can you hear about the question, Professor?
Not very much, yeah? That is something about...
Okay.
So,
do you want, should we collect first all the question from two students, or do you want to just directly answering it?
I can directly answer, but I cannot hear it very precisely, yeah? So,
maybe I will repeat the questions from Rifani.
okay. Yeah, great.
Very good question. Okay, so we have two questions related to your paper, the one that you show us. The first question is there any potential for bias in the existing model that you build? If there is, how do you fix or address this bias? And
yeah. So maybe I can answer, just not to forget, okay? Yeah, so of course there is bias, yeah? So it's, when we use data sets, I think it's just working with people. Everyone has bias, yeah? And also our text has some bias, yeah? Sometimes it's good, sometimes bad, yeah? But everyone, especially in data sets, we have bias, yeah? For example, that's why we try to prepare big data sets, yeah, and more diversified data sets. When I showed you in this educational paper, yeah, we tried this measurement with our students on one course, yeah, but of course, if you want to use broadly this tool, we need to test it on more universities, more nations, yeah, and how we can address the bias, yeah. So I think at first we need to be aware that we have bias, yeah. When we train models that are based on data set, we just train also the bias, yeah. Which we can prepare any ways of removing bias, yeah. But there are some works, yeah. For example, when we do this gender bias, yeah, when we just say that professor is a man, we can somehow change the answers, yeah. But still, I believe it's very difficult to remove bias, yeah, because sometimes, you know, some bias is natural for many, I don't know, many cultures, and it's not that it's totally bad, yeah. So when I think when we just associate nurturing children with a woman, yeah, it's not that it's bad. It's as it is in the world, yeah. I mean, you know, but yeah, it's we need to. But we need to be very, very cautious about this and very aware of this. Yeah, and there are many methods that just detecting this hate speech, yeah, these misunderstandings, and yeah. But I think, you know, even there are research on how biased are the LLMs, yeah, and most of them are trained on North European values, yeah, for these countries like Norway, Finland, yeah. So when people checked their values of the LLMs, yeah, they have specific values, and maybe they are not proper for, you know, Polish people, for Indonesian people, yeah, because we have a little bit different way of thinking, yeah. It's not that it's, you know, totally bad, yeah, but for example, for Polish people something is more important, yeah, and for Indonesian people they and I think it's just good thing that we are different, yeah, but we also need to be aware that these models just incorporate and use their values, the values they were trained, yeah. And we need to think, you are right, we need to think about the methods to remove the bias, or at least to identify values, yeah. It's not that they are biased, they are just values of the models, and these values can be quite different than our values, yeah. And I think it's a very, very important research, but it's not that there are many research on LLM's values, yeah, but still they influence us with their values, yeah, and we should be aware. So I'm happy that you're interested in it, but I have no, you know, direct answer. There is, you know, unsolved thing, and we need to work. I believe it's very important. We need to work out how we can at least identify the values of LLM, yeah? At least to be aware of this value, just like talking with the other nations, yeah? Sometimes we need to know that they have different culture, yeah? And we need to know that something different is important for them. I think it's good, yeah, as far as it, you know, in a human communication. But with LLMs, we should be able to influence their values just to, you know, be close to our values. Yeah, it's a tool that should help us. Yeah, but at least we try to identify their values. Yeah, and I think it's the first step. Yeah, so I think this question is very, very important for us, for all of us. Yeah. Yeah, but I have nothing to say more. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Professor. And for the second question, he asked that he's just wondering, when you're using the API endpoint to build the model, it is to do the fine tuning again.
Could you repeat? If I use API for
API endpoint to build.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is it to do fine tuning?
To be honest, I don't know. In this educational research, we only used models, yeah, to generate questions and evaluated them. And for this, I think Sophia would know more. So generally, we cannot fine-tune models under APA endpoint. Yeah, I think we should download them and. But maybe it's changing. I'm not sure. Yeah, usually at least half of a year ago, we just downloaded the models and then fine-tuned them. But I don't know. Sorry.
Rifani, would that be a good answer from her? Okay, thank you very much for the question. Okay, so now for the
Thank you.
second question, is there anyone to ask? Okay.
Thank you very much for the inspiring presentation. Particularly in the part where you discuss the importance of AI with massive education. What strategies will you recommend to encourage AI and awareness and literacy among students and faculty?
Okay, thank you, Wulan, for the question. Let me repeat it for you.
Yeah, please.
What strategies would you recommend to increase AI awareness and literacy among students and educators?
It's also a very difficult question. Yeah, I would like to just define these strategies. Yeah, at first, I think the most important but very general is to be just critical. Yeah, to not believe, just to not trust straightforwardly. Yes, to just to have this pinch of critics. Yeah, when you just read this, you need to think that maybe it's not good. Yeah, but it's the field which is evolving. Yeah, and we all need to define. And even now, I just met these weeks with, we created, so not me, but I was invited and I am very happy. Action group, UNESCO action group for higher education. Yeah, and we try to define these guidelines, gather different views, opinions, and define these guidelines. But it's extremely hard now because everyone is using this, but we have no guidelines. Yeah, and it's a problem. Yeah, but at least I think we should be critical and read a lot about this. And yeah, this is what I can say. Yeah, maybe I hope soon we will have at least more precise guidelines, but we still need to be something like thinking about this, not just taking it as on plate and using it. We need to be very critical. Yeah, and we need to also, I think, we need to learn how to prompt this model, how to ask questions, because they they need to have very precise questions. Yeah, usually people say that they are good in role playing. Yeah, so you can say you are a teacher and try to prepare questions. Yeah, but you are a student. Yeah, just provide them also the role, yeah. So then it's more, they are more in context, yeah. So they know the context for the answer, and their answers are better. But still, this is evolving, yeah. I think we should learn all the time and try to find out the guidelines and read a lot, because a lot of researchers work also, teachers and researchers on education, yeah, not only from the technology part, yeah, but from business field, from a pedagogical field, and so on, yeah. So it's very up to date thing to have the guidelines, but we don't have them, and this is truly an issue. Yeah, we need to all be aware of this. Also, you know, when we at our faculty, we thought about how we should guide students if they can use LLMs during, you know, project laboratories or not. Yeah, you know, and it's quite hard question. Yeah, at first our commission, yeah, from our faculty said that no, not at all. We won't allow this. Yeah, but it's 1 year ago, half year ago, people said, professors, yeah, at our university said, yeah, maybe we can allow in projects, yeah, and you know, in just text refining, and you know, it's also very hard to check if students use it or no. Yeah, sometimes I can feel, yeah, that oh, it's because you know, LLMs answers are not so diversified as people, yeah, and there are no mistakes, grammatical mistakes, yeah, but still, also the answers are not very dependent, yeah. So generally, I can differentiate if students understand or they just use LLMs without any thinking. Yeah, I think it's the worst thing. Yeah, but you know, we have no direct guidelines for this. It's just like having feeling, yeah, for that. And we are working, all of we, yeah, you as students, and we as teachers, and we as a humanity, yeah, we use these tools, but we don't know them. Yeah, so it's a bit dangerous, but also, you know, a great potential to improve and to influence these tools. Yeah, so I believe in this potential, but also believe that we need yeah, guidelines, yeah, and maybe some more rules, or you know, because maybe some law, even you know, rules under the law, yeah, sometimes, but it's very hard to differentiate for now. I believe, but we try, yeah, and it's the best, and you can also influence this. You can think and share this, and also you need to learn other, yeah, or especially, for example, parents and my grandparents. I need to explain them, yeah, how to use these tools, because all of us can use these tools. Yeah, so also you as a technical student, you know more, and you need to explain the others. I believe this, yeah. And yeah, I think this is maybe not full answer. Yeah, we are searching, we all searching for these answers. Yeah. But thank you. There are very important questions. Yeah, I think there are just in point. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so Mulan, was that already answer your question? Okay. Okay, so since we only have a limited of time, so maybe that will be the last questions for today. And thank you so much for the thoughtful questions and engaging discussion. And once again, thank you very much, Professor Wróblewska, for the insightful response. And so by that, that concludes our Q&A sessions. And so to briefly wrap up, today's lecture has provided us with valuable insights from understanding fundamental machine learning and NLP, even more exploring various evaluation metrics to gain a deeper appreciation of how large language models should be assessed. From model architecture and training time to creative rubrics and responsible deployment. And it's clear that evaluation is both technical and ethical challenges. And also highlighted to the critical relevance of AI literacy in educational settings. Okay, and so by that,
And I would like to thank you. Thank you for invitation, and these questions were fantastic. So I'm so happy I can share my knowledge, my little knowledge, but we can share and extend this. So it's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We are the one who's very thankful to you. Okay, so maybe
even more.
before I hand the session back to our Master of Ceremony, maybe the students wants to say something to you. Can you guys say it to her? Maybe 1, 2, 3.
Oh, thank you. I don't know how to say
it. Professor.
I'm really happy. Thank you so much. Great.
Okay, so now I'll hand the session back to our Master of Ceremony, Manda, to continue with the next part of the agenda. Manda, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you to the moderator and our speaker. Once again, thank you to Professor Anna Wróblewska for the inspiring talk. And thank you all for your participation. We have now come to the end of today's event. We hope today's session was useful and meaningful for your future. We look forward to seeing you again in our next academic event. That's all from me. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.